City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Certainly. Councilmember Arias. Present. Councilmember Maxwell.
Present.
Councilmember Chavez.
Here.
Councilmember Bredefeld.
Here.
Councilmember Esparza.
Present.
Vice President Carbasi.
Here.
And Council President Perea.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation will be given by Pastor Joe White from the Neighborhood Church. Will everyone please stand?
Each of our individual districts representing our diverse residents are supported by decisions made here today. I pray that we would govern today as one city with 7 unique parts working together for our collective good. God, we also give thanks for our neighbors in the fields today. Thank you for their hard work. Thank you for our public works departments covering 112 square miles, all our roads, touching every business and home and person in our city. We also want to thank you, Jesus, for for Fresno's DNA of hard work. These council members and this administration are working hard in this budget process, and we pray that you would guide them as they govern through these complexities on our behalf. And Lord, we pray that you would fill us with hope today, that as we govern, we remember that you haven't given up on our city, that you love our city, and you're using each and every one of us to heal this place that we call home. In your name we pray. Amen.
City Clerk, are there any changes or items removed from the agenda?
Yes, I do have a few changes, but first I'd like to announce we do have Spanish, Hmong, and Punjabi translators available via Zoom. We also have closed captioning via Zoom and YouTube, and we do have in-house Spanish interpreters that will announce to the audience what they can do for them today.
Yes, hello, good morning. My name is Jael, and this is my colleague. This is my colleague Maria. We are your Spanish interpreters from Focus Interpreting. If you're in need of any interpretation services, please look towards the back of the auditorium. We will be there, and we can help you with a headset. Thank you.
Buenos días, mi nombre es María. Somos intérpretes de español, de Focus Interpreting, y estamos aquí para asistirles en la parte posterior del auditorio. Gracias.
And as for changes to the agenda, first, a correction to read into the record. File ID 24-715, that is the ceremonial proclamation for Chief Anthony Martinez Day. Mayor Dyer is also a co-sponsor on this item. And we also have items removed from the agenda. We have consent calendar item 2A, that is file ID 24-798, regarding approval of the minutes from June 3rd through June 6th. That has been removed from the agenda by staff and will return at the next meeting. We have consent calendar item 2H, that is file ID 24-764, actions pertaining to RFP 12401-385 for emergency veterinary services. That has been moved to June 20th, 2024 by staff. We also have consent calendar item 2M, that is file ID 24801, resolution adopting a list of proposed public works projects to receive Senate Bill 1 road maintenance and rehabilitation account funding for fiscal year 25. That has been removed from the agenda by Vice President Carbasi. And finally, consent calendar item 2V as in Victor, that is file ID 24-808. That is a bill removing squatters from short-term rentals and hotels, and that has been removed from this agenda by the sponsors with no immediate return date. Those are all the changes I have received.
Thank you, City Clerk. Council members, are there any other items you wish to remove, continue, or pull for discussion? Councilmember Arias? No, thank you. Maxwell? No. Chavez? Bredefeld?
I just want to acknowledge that I'm co-sponsoring with you, Council President, item 2T.
Would you like to pull it for discussion?
Sure, yes.
Okay. All right, I was going to pull it anyway, so.
I was going to let you do that.
All right, Councilmember Esparza? No. Council Vice President?
No, thank you, Council President.
All right, and we removed 2T, myself along with Councilmember Bredefeld. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Council President,
Yes.
may I request that you pull item 2N to contested consent? I just need an hour to try and work out a legal issue with the attorney's office. I just need a little bit more time today, if just to contest it until you approve the contested consent calendar.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Council Vice President. 2N.
2N, please pull 2N, because it contested consent.
Thank you.
2N as in Nancy. All right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Arias and a second by Council Vice President. Any objection? Hearing none, item passes 7-0. Okay, up next we have ceremonial presentations. We have just one proclamation today, which is, I think, an extremely important one, but this is a proclamation for Chief Anthony Martinez Day in the city of Fresno. This is sponsored by Councilmember Carbasi and Office of the Mayor.
I'm really excited about this one. Yeah, right in front and center. Yes, right front and center. Here we go. Mayor, come on in. Good morning, everyone. I'm Councilman Mike Carbasi. I represent Northwest Fresno. I'm going to give this to you, Chief. It took me about a year to go from chief to mayor. I don't know, Captain and Chief's going to take me a while. Sorry. I'm really proud to be able to recognize, along with our mayor, someone very special to me. As a councilman, you get to work with your police captains. You get pretty close to them. I've had 3 police captains. First was Burke Farah, who is now deputy chief. Next we have Anthony Martinez, who's now going to be chief at Fresno State. Tom, if you're listening, I don't know if you're here. There's a trend here. Let's see what happens for Captain Rowe. You know, I was able to work with Captain Martinez. You know, we really didn't know each other. And the very first moment he came in, I don't know if Burke told you something, but you just really rolled out the blue carpet. You were always so generous and welcoming. You let me know about things. We talked about things, especially with helping neighborhoods around the station that had some issues. And you talked about your Take 5 project, which was, you know what, no matter what, we're going to make sure all our officers on patrol take 5 minutes, talk to different members on the beat. This was a difficult time in policing in America, and Northwest Fresno's district was really able to build, especially in the Fairmont and Holt area, really strong connections with the community, and we saw shootings go down dramatically over there under your leadership. But you joined Selma Police Department in 1990. In 96, you went to Fresno PD, and you've had a lot of assignments, from narcotics to a pop officer. I think you were PIO for the mayor, but no one knew that because Jerry Dyer doesn't need any PIO. And now you're going to be chief at Fresno State, which is my alma mater. I know Councilmember Chavez went to Fresno State. We're all very proud of you. You have a lot of people up here, a lot of brass that want to acknowledge that, and I know they're going to please embarrass him. Make me feel good, okay? And we're very, very proud of you, Chief. And now off to the mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. And so I've known Anthony for a long time, many years. And he worked with me in the Fresno Police Department in a variety of assignments. But yes, he was in the chief's office at one time as a public information officer. Anthony worked Southeast District and as a commander, Northwest, variety of assignments throughout the course of the time I was there. But one thing about Anthony is always very, very professional, always looked sharp, never lost that Marine Corps look. Anthony was Marine Corps, in the Marine Corps, and still is. You can hear him frequently at ceremonies yelling out "hoorah," because it is deep within him, and he is an example to all. And we know that he's moving on to something bigger, maybe not better, but something bigger, as he goes into his new assignment as a chief. And remember, Anthony, it's okay to think highly of the position you hold, but never think too highly of yourself in that position. Oh, Mindy, sorry.
No problem. Well, I've had the pleasure of working with Chief Martinez now for the last 9 months or so. And when I see him and I look at him and I think of him, because he was my boss too, I think of just dignity. He brings dignity to this position. He is, like Mayor said, very professional. And you're always a good reminder to me, though, because besides being dignified and professional, you know how to have a good time. And you know what's important, and that's your family. And you know, you bring the profession to the job, and you really bring a lot of caring to your family. But I want to bring up also just the community. This guy does so many volunteer things. He takes eyeglasses to Mexico. He's involved in so many projects through the Lions, because he reminds me, lions eat what? Elks? There you go. So we love him, and we're looking forward to working with you in your new capacity. Thank you to all of our staff that are here today and the deputy chiefs. We have a really strong command team here supporting each other, and this is a good example of it. So thank you.
I've had the privilege of working with now Chief Martinez, and what I think about him is his ability during any crisis to remain calm and bring calm to those around him and handle any situation appropriately. And he also takes great care in taking care of those around him. He does not hesitate to, say, respond from home if there's an injured officer, or lend support in any area that's needed. He can be counted on, and I know Fresno State will be in good hands.
You know, moving you from southeast to northwest, I didn't know you were going to get 2 days, and I think you have a record now of staff officers that have 2 days now to you. So, Anthony, me and Anthony, we've come up the ranks together. Captain test, lieutenant test, sergeant test, and Fresno State's going to get an incredible leader. They're going to get an executive staff officer from the 5th largest city in the state, and so they're very lucky.
Speak long.
Oh, just thank the council, thank everyone. Thank you, Councilmember Carbasi, for all the support, all the recognition, and it's really just, you know, we've said this before. It's not me. It's all my troops. It's all the people that do all the heavy lifting, doing all the 5 minutes at a time, right?
Right.
Take 5. They're the ones that were out there doing that, and all that was designed just to get my cops back closer with the people and get the people closer with my officers. You got to remember, we were coming out of COVID, and no one's getting close to one another, and you know, everyone trying to be what the new normal is going to be. Well, I wanted the new normal to be what it's kind of always been. You know, we do this together. So, thank you. Thanks to all my friends that are here. It's not my staff. It's all my friends that are here. I've also got my friends, my coworkers, my soon-to-be staff from my next department. They're waiting for me to come over. Thank you already for being here. My members at Fresno State PD that are here ready for me to go over. And for those of you that are going to school, or you have children, grandchildren going to school, I'll give you the same promise that I've already given to our president and my boss, Ms. Aystone, that my officers and I will do our best to make that the safest and friendliest learning environment we can give you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Why don't we have all the other officers come on up? We'll take a picture together. Come on, don't be shy. Come on down. And then, Clerk, if you wouldn't mind reading the proclamation into the record.
Gladly. Whereas Captain Anthony Martinez started his career in law enforcement with the Selma Police Department in 1990 and lateraled to the Fresno Police Department in July of 1996. He worked a variety of assignments, including as a problem-oriented police officer and a narcotics detective. In October of 2001, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant. Captain Martinez then worked as a supervisor in patrol, supervised a problem-oriented policing team, and was assigned as an internal affairs investigator. And whereas, in March of 2006, Captain Martinez was promoted to the rank of lieutenant and served as the Multi-Agency Gang Enforcement Consortium, MAGIC, Metro Commander, and served as an acting captain, Southwest District Commander, Internal Affairs Commander, Public Information Officer, and Patrol Commander. In October of 2016, Captain Martinez was promoted to the rank of captain. And whereas Captain Martinez has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Public Administration, a minor in Criminology, and a Master of Arts degree in Public Administration from California State University, Fresno, in June 2022, Anthony attended and graduated from the FBI National Academy. In June 2023, he was awarded one of the first ever Lexipol Public Safety Fellowships by Renee and Gordon Graham. Also in June 2023, Captain Martinez was awarded lifetime membership in Lions Club International for more than 25 years of dedicated community service through Lions Club International. In August of 2023, Captain Martinez was awarded a Master of Public Safety degree from University of Virginia. And whereas most recently, Captain Martinez worked as the Support Division's Community Relations Commander, representing the Chief of Police at both city government and community meetings after previously serving as both the Southeast and Northwest District Commander. Captain Martinez has an outstanding ability to connect and build relationships of trust with members of our community. His compassion, love for the community, and hard work have made him one of the most successful captains of the Fresno Police Department. And whereas Captain Martinez will now be known as Chief Martinez as he becomes the new Chief of Police for the Fresno State Police Department. We thank Chief Martinez for his many years of service to the Fresno Police Department, and we wish him the best of luck as he continues protecting our city. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Jerry Dyer and the Fresno City Council, recognize the sacrifices and decades of service to the city of Fresno and hereby honor Chief Anthony Martinez in the city of Fresno.
Chief Martinez, congratulations. Buena suerte. Just one small favor, be nice to mobile food vendors. When we invite Latinos to spend a lot of money in expensive concerts, allow them to eat their hot dogs with bacon. Gracias.
Congratulations, Chief. Mr. Elizondo, you were disruptive during the meeting. This is your one and only warning for today. Thank you. Everyone is allowed to hold up signs. Just please make sure you're respectful with that, especially if you want to sit in the front row. And keep the signs down just so you don't block anyone's view behind you. Thank you. We're going to move on to council member reports and comments. We're going to start with council member Arias.
Thank you, Council President. Just informational, yesterday the Cesar Chavez Boulevard street signs officially began to be installed. It's beginning in West Fresno and making their way to East Fresno. Additionally, the string lights at the Breed District have begun installation. They should be done in a couple of weeks. This weekend, we'll be joining the Tower District Preservation Association in repainting the 64 historic lampposts in the Tower District. It's one less duty for our city staff to do, so thank you for the volunteers who are helping paint the lampposts for over the next couple of weekends. Thank you again to the Parks Department for their completion of the court improvements, the tennis court improvements at Roding Park. They are being used. And Clinton and Valentine intersection is almost complete, so for folks who are traveling there, be nice, be patient, and slow down as the construction schedule completes. And lastly, Council President, I'd like to make a statement as it relates to the recent activity in the police chief personnel matter. Given the significant attention is received, I feel compelled to address it from my experience. First, let me say that when adults engage in actions, they have consequences that it creates for many victims, especially their families and their children. I plead with the local media, union leaders, and even the fake news media outlets to act in a responsible way and leave their families and their kids out of your stories and out of your questions. As the city staff has indicated, this matter is a personnel-related matter and it's under the authority of the city manager and the mayor. I respect that authority. Yet there are clear policy and legal implications that are the responsibility of this governing body. That is the area I will address. In my tenure, several high-ranking city officials have openly engaged in extramarital affairs with city employees under their chain of command. In those incidents, those officials, who happen to be white, did not face discipline or termination. As a policymaker, I was continuously told that such behavior was not a personnel matter for the city. In short, the city had no business looking into the bedrooms of our city officials or employees as it relates to their employment status, a position I fully support. Also in my tenure, there have been several well-reported incidents of police officers, ranging from assaulting kids, running over homeless residents while texting, robbing and using meth while on duty, downloading child porn, and belonging to hate groups. Each time, the Fresno Police Association has demanded that we follow the Police Bill of Rights, give officers due process, and provide them second and third chances, even when allegations are sustained. Furthermore, to my knowledge, no police officer or employee has ever faced disciplinary action or termination for engaging in private extramarital affairs, a position that all city unions, including FPOA, has supported. Yet now we hear from the police unions demanding action against the chief, now irrespective of due process. As a policymaker entrusted with ensuring policies are applied fairly to all employees, that is concerning. Our city has a well-documented track record of not taking personnel action against white executive leaders that engage in extramarital affairs with city employees under their command. A well-documented history of honoring FPOA's demands that we give officers several chances to improve when they make mistakes at work that create significant legal and monetary liability to the city. The union has blocked any disciplinary action against officers for what occurs on their own time, including marital conflicts. In other words, FPOA also doesn't want the city HR officials and officers home, much less their bedrooms. In most of these instances, officers and employees have learned from their mistakes and finished their careers here effectively, serving the public. As a city, we have the responsibility to ensure that city policies are applied fairly and across all ranks. I caution FPOA, the city, and our employees. If we seek to set a new standard that results in disciplinary action for private behavior, we are putting the city on a path that would lead to everyone's bedroom when considering their employment status. Furthermore, if white executive officials and high-ranking employees can engage in extramarital affairs with city employees, why is it a violation when an executive of color makes the same mistake with non-employees? Lastly, in the coming days, our office will continue to monitor the handling of this personnel matter from the sideline as required by the city charter. If a double standard is applied for employees of color, I will bring forward a city policy to address how we handle extramarital affairs across all employee groups. I do not believe that government belongs in our doctor's offices, in our homes, much less in our bedrooms. But such a policy would be necessary to be debated by this body to protect city taxpayers from potential lawsuits that will be generated when a policy is unevenly enforced. And again, I ask folks, leave their families out of this, leave their kids out of this. It's adult behavior, adults that engage in this behavior. You want to ask questions of them? Go for it. But leaves their families and their kids out of your mouths. Thank you.
What's her name?
Thank you, council member. Up next, council member Maxwell.
No report.
Council member Chavez. Council member Redfield. Council member Esparza.
Yeah, thanks, Council President. Just wanted to report in terms of sort of past events that have been going on in the district and the city. This past Saturday, we had a Beautify Fresno Love and Alley event. Beautify Fresno was out in full force in District 7, removing illegal dumping, litter, and weeds at an alley located at Iowa and Rowell Avenues near Roosevelt High. So I want to give a special thank you to the District Council 16, the painters, and drywall finishers local union who came out in full force as well with their volunteers for joining Beautify Fresno this past Saturday. We appreciate everyone's efforts. I don't remember if we talked about this at the last meeting or not, but you'll notice our pride flag up, waving outside of City Hall. It was great to join my colleagues and other officials and members of the community and raising that, I believe, now for the fourth time. It really never gets old, and proud to have that display of community displayed here at Fresno City Hall. Lastly, tomorrow, as I have for several years, I'll be hosting a group of high school youth for the Chicano Latino Youth Leadership Project, Central Valley Institute here in the chambers, where we'll educate them just on civic engagement in general and help them engage in a mock city council meeting, mock city council hearing here in the chamber. So I invite my colleagues. If anybody would also like to join me, I'll be here facilitating that civic day for those high school students. They're incoming juniors and incoming rising juniors or rising seniors, and that all from all over the Central Valley, including Fresno. So that'll conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Up next, Council Vice President. All right. And I will forego my report as well. Up next, we have Mayor Dyer.
Thank you, Council President. Just really one quick item. Just want to make sure the public knew and the council. We launched our 4th year of Camp Fresno Monday of this week. We had 51 of our youth that were attending a 3-day camp, Camp Fresno. And then we have 2 more this week that are day camps. And then, so every week we'll be sending our youth to Camp Fresno. Prior to this year, again, this is our 4th year, we've sent nearly 2,000 of our youth, primarily from underserved neighborhoods up to Camp Fresno. Many of them have never had that opportunity. This year we hope to send as many as 700. So just want to make you aware of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Manager. City Clerk.
Just a real quick couple of announcements. Be sure to visit the city clerk's website to see upcoming meetings that are scheduled. Next week, we do have a Parks, Recreation, and Arts Commission meeting on the 17th at 5:30 p.m. The Tower District Specific Plan Implementation Committee meeting for the 18th has been canceled. There will be currently on the calendar, we have the Council District 4 Project Review Committee on the 18th at 5:30 p.m. and a Planning Commission meeting on the 19th at 6 p.m., followed, of course, by the Thursday meeting, City Council at 9 o'clock a.m. And also, if you are planning on voting in the November 5th, 2024 general election, make sure that your registration is submitted online or postmarked by October 21st, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk. City Attorney?
No report.
All right, Councilmember Butterfield, you wanted the floor?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I think we're going to need to bring back an ordinance or resolution, whatever works, regarding signs in the council chamber, because we have one person who continues to be very disruptive, disrupts when pictures are being taken, disrupts when people are standing at the podium. And I know he wants attention, he craves attention, and that's fine, but we've got to come up with a policy so that people feel welcome, they feel safe here, that when they come, they're not going to be harassed by somebody with stupid messages that are idiotic. And it's fine, he has a right to be an idiot, no problem, I accept that. But I'm sick and tired of him being disruptive to these proceedings and to people who come here and should be treated with great courtesy. And it's up to us to make sure that this is a safe environment. So I'll be working with the city attorney to come up with something. Any colleague wants to join me, but we've got to come up with a policy because this is ridiculous at this point.
Thank you, Councilmember. All right, up next, we will hold our scheduled 9:10 a.m. number 1 item. This is a joint meeting of the Fresno Revitalization Corporation and the City of Fresno. Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good. Thank you for the time this morning. The 24-25 budget total for the housing successor is $6,265,000. That includes a carryover balance as well as program income estimated at $300,000. The budget encumbers funds in the amount of $2,967,000 for projects under contract. I'll briefly review the status of 8 projects that are in the pipeline that together represent 184 units. At Self-Help's 22 unit single-family project at Annadale and Ivy in Southwest Fresno, the first group of 11 families have started framing, and they expect to be in their homes by the end of this year. And the second group of 11 expect construction to proceed and complete by the end of next year, and they will be in their homes. In January of this year, we entered into a DD&A with the Housing Authority. There. We entered into a DD&A with the Housing Authority for 33 single-family homes, also in Southwest Fresno, that will be available to households at 50% of AMI or above. The Housing Authority has its grading permit. They have their building plans approved. Their permit for advanced construction is underway, and they expect to start infrastructure work next month. They'll be constructing homes in groups of 5. They expect the beginning of construction on the homes in June 25 and to complete the entire project by September of 2026. Also in Southwest is phase 1 of the Florence Walnut project. 6 single-family units there are well under construction, and they're expected to be completed by October of this year. And then phase 2 of that same project at Florence and Plumas is scheduled to begin in late summer, and those homes are expected to bring about 17 total units for that self-help project. And rehab of the 3 historic homes at Santa Clara and N Street are completed, and one of the first units has been leased. The other 2 are expected to soon follow, and the monument removed during the fire has been restored and reinstalled. Turning to multifamily, Hotel Fresno began leasing in March. About 60 of the 81 units are occupied, and they expect full occupancy by the end of the summer. And the Mural Lofts project, 28 units for workforce housing, is expected to be ready for occupancy at the end of this summer. In Southeast, the agency joined with the city in an RFP for 3.5 acres at Ventura and 7th, and Lingo's Integrated Community Development Entity was selected as the developer. They're applying for the July round of USDA Farm Labor Housing Funds, and that will be part of the capital stack for their construction of 54 multifamily units as part of phase 1 of that site. And lastly, the Hispanic Foundation has begun its due diligence for the rehab and reuse of the 2-story Berkeley building. So net of encumbered funds for those foregoing projects, the budget allocates $525,000 for personnel and operation and maintenance, with a balance of $2,777,518 available for projects going forward. So as you may recall, the funds have expenditure requirements to serve various household income levels at specific percentages. Those are shown in your budget.
Can you speak a little bit closer to the mic, please?
Sorry.
Thank you. That's perfect.
So 30% of our program income must be expended for units available to households at 30% of AMI. 50% of our income must be available to households at 60% or less of AMI. Only 20% can be expended for households eligible for 60 to 80% of AMI. Currently, the agency is at the maximum expenditure level for the 60 to 80% of AMI. So going forward this year, in that category, approximately $554,000 will be directed to households at 60% or below AMI. In accordance with these income requirements, the budget provides funding for agency-owned property, potentially at 3 areas. Chinatown, it's north of Ventura. At Mono between F and G, we have 5 parcels there. We're going forward with a surplus land declaration. Those are available will be available for development. We have the Fulton Street. We have 2 what we call skinny parcels on Fulton Street, and those are available now for, and they are declared surplus. And we have 7 scattered sites. Also, the notice of availability went out for those 7 scattered sites, small sites in Southwest Fresno. We received 3 responses back from that NOA, and we'll be negotiating with those 3 respondents. Also in the packet...
Director, if I may interrupt you, can you walk us through what the acronyms are in your report, specifically what SL means?
With which?
SL, what does that mean?
Surplus Land Act.
Surplus Land Act. Thank you.
Others? No? AMI, average median income. Okay. Also in the packet is the Housing Asset Funds Transfer. In 2014, the Sacramento Superior Court and Department of Finance approved funds to fulfill specific enforceable obligations and ensure housing affordability compliance over a 55-year life of covenants and to carry out related housing activities and requirements. We, the agency, have over 1,000 units that are being monitored for affordability, and we maybe most of those have about 30 years left on the life of the covenant. So that's basically our task on that one area. The schedule for those approved obligations and expenditure is attached to your packet. Also attached is the annual report for 22-23 reporting period. It's basically a 2-year gap between that report and the upcoming budget. It's posted on our website as required, and its primary purpose is to allow the state to monitor the agency to see that we are meeting our compliance for the extremely low affordability test and for surplus excess surplus in our budget. During the 5-year period between 18-19 and 22-23, 50% of agency funds were expended for units restricted to 30% AMI. So we're reaching the lowest. The requirement is 30. We had 50 for the lowest AMI level. That's well above the requirement. And the agency's unencumbered fund balance of about $3 million was well below the surplus threshold. And the report includes the 22-23 status of real property acquired by the agency for affordable housing. And we're currently, I'll just quickly bring you up to speed on that, for a total of 80 parcels that the agency had at dissolution, 56 have been developed with affordable housing. And activity for development has been initiated for the remaining 24 parcels. We've covered some of those. Self-help at Florence and Plumas, we haven't conveyed the property, but that's one of those, the 7 parcels there. Heritage Estates, 1 parcel there. Fulton Street, we have 3 there. And 7th in Ventura, and 7 small scattered sites in Chinatown. So those basically create 5 sites that represent the 24 parcels. And then lastly, the affordable housing overview. The last attachment chart shows since dissolution, housing successor agency funds of about $27,500,000 have generated 654 units, and it also gives the percentage of expended funds over that period of time in terms of categories of 30% through 80%. And that concludes the presentation. If you have any questions, happy to answer, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Director. All right, so at this time, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Public comment on the 9:10 a.m. number 1 item. This is to receive the annual report and approve fiscal year 24-25 program income budget for the city of Fresno. Would any member of the public wish to speak on the 9:10 a.m. number 1 item? Please come up at this time. Good morning.
Good morning,
Please
Council.
state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Alondra Williams Vasquez. I am the Executive Director with the African American Historical and Cultural Museum of the San Joaquin Valley. We are formally requesting reinstatement onto the City Council agenda. Our submission compromises, I emailed the dais this morning before Council.
Alondra, this is for the 9:10 a.m. number 1 item.
Yeah,
you'll get a chance to come back
Oh,
for unscheduled
my apologies.
communication.
I thought
no
it was
problem.
for this.
There's a lot of people here that want to speak on something not on the agenda.
Yeah.
That's unscheduled communication. We do hear that at the very end of the meeting.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I heard
No
the
problem.
fiscal year, and I thought it was for this one.
My
Thank
apologies.
you so much.
Yep, my apologies. Anyone else from the chamber who would like to speak on the 9:10 a.m. number 1 meeting? This is the joint meeting of the Fresno Revitalization Corporation and City of Fresno in its capacity as housing successor. City Clerk, is there anyone online who wishes to speak?
We have Laura Garcia. Laura, do you wish to speak on the 9:10 item?
It's not you, Laura. Tyler, go ahead and speak for yourself.
Laura, are you there? Laura's not there. There is nobody else online.
There's no Laura.
All right, I will close the public hearing for the 9:10 a.m. number 1 item and bring it back up to the dais.
Council President,
As
I'd
a
like to make
reminder, Council, one moment, Council Member. As a reminder, we do require 2 votes for this item. 1 from the Fresno Revitalization Corporation, which is the City Council in conjunction with the mayor, and then the second vote will be a vote of the City Council. Councilmember Arias.
I'd like to make a motion to approve on behalf of the Fresno Revitalization Agency and the City Council.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Arias and a second by Mayor Dyer. Any objection? See none, item passes 8-0.
Council President, I'd like to make a motion as the City Council to approve the budget as presented.
Wait. Which budget? Which budget? Hold on.
The successor agency budget.
All right, I have a motion to approve the 9:10 a.m. number 1 item. Can I get a second? I have a second by Councilmember Chavez. Any objection? Hearing none, item passes
Relax, Ruthie, not
7-0.
yet.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the 9:10 a.m. number 2 item. This is a hearing to consider a resolution of necessity for acquisition of a fee title interest of APN 446-232-39S. The hearing will be held as follows. We're going to first hear a presentation from staff, followed by a presentation by the property owner if they're here. Take questions from the council members, open it up to the public, and then we will bring it back up to the dais for discussion and action. So at this time, staff, you have the floor.
Good morning, Council. Nancy Bruno, Supervising Real Estate Agent, Capital Projects Department. The item before you today is a hearing to consider excuse me, a resolution of necessity for the construction of the Blackstone-McKinley BNSF grade separation project to acquire fee title interest of assessor's parcel number 446-232-39S, owned by Westfield Investments and Associates and occupied by Dutch Bros Coffee. This hearing is to determine whether this parcel is necessary for the project. The city is willing to continue negotiations with the property owners, but in order to maintain the project schedule, this step in determining the necessity of the parcel for the project is critical. The court portion of the process will come later if this resolution is adopted. Today, we're here to determine that the parcel is needed and that the project cannot proceed without it. We have prepared a slide presentation to familiarize council and the public with the right-of-way acquisition process, as well as provide information about the project and the impacts to this specific parcel. So the right-of-way acquisition process begins with staff or our consultants contacting the property owner and introducing them to the project and explaining how it impacts their property. Fair market value is determined through an appraisal. The owner is invited to accompany the appraiser to the appraiser's site visit to share information about the property that they feel may affect the value of the property. When the first written offer is presented to the owner, they are advised of their right to obtain an independent appraisal of the property, for which the city will reimburse them reasonable costs up to $5,000. As part of the process, the owner and/or occupant of the parcel are advised that they may be entitled to relocation benefits and reimbursement of moving expenses. The city's relocation consultant works closely with them to determine the level of eligibility and assists in identifying a replacement location for their business if desired. During negotiations and title clearance, the process can go two ways. If terms are acceptable to all, the agreement is signed and the city would proceed to close escrow and obtain possession of the parcel. If there are failed negotiations, title issues, or lack of participation in negotiations by the property owner, staff would recommend council consider an adoption of resolution of necessity, which is where we find ourselves today. If council adopts a resolution for this parcel today, the acquisition will be referred to the city attorney's office, who will proceed to file an eminent domain action with the courts. Although staff has recommended a resolution of necessity for this parcel, the city is open to continuing attempts at negotiating an agreement with the property owner and until the court action is filed. And as part of the process, an order for possession will be requested from the court so the city may proceed with the project at this parcel. That's the process. I'd like to have Alex explain the project a little bit.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Alex Gonzalez, licensed professional engineer with Transportation Project Management. I will be providing a summary of the project, current status, schedule, and how the project impacts the specific parcel for this item. The proposed project will eliminate 2 existing at-grade railroad crossings at Blackstone McKinley, and as a result will increase safety, traffic flow, and operations. There have been 4 fatalities at these crossings within the last 10 years. With the construction of this project, the risk between pedestrian or vehicles with the trains will be eliminated. This project would benefit the nearby community and visitors to the area. We have received project funding through state TIRCP and LPP grants and local FCTA Measure C funds. This slide provides an aerial overview of the project limits. The proposed project would be separating the railroad from the streets. Both Blackstone and McKinley would be reconstructed to be under the existing tracks. This would create an elevation difference of about 25 feet at the tracks and about 14 feet at the intersection. Due to the elevation differences, the retaining walls would need to be constructed. The parcel for this specific item is located on the northeast of the intersection of McKinley and Blackstone, currently used as a Dutch Bros. This slide provides a rendering of the existing conditions and the elevation differences after construction. The elevation differences can be seen for both Blackstone and McKinley. The retaining walls are also visible in this exhibit. The schedule presented is laid out to meet our funding obligation timelines. Construction drawings are progressing with complete design to be in summer, fall 2025. Right-of-way acquisitions are anticipated to be completed in summer 2025. There will be temporary utility construction through some of the parcels prior to the start of construction, which would be spring 2026, and construction would be completed in spring 2029. This exhibit shows how the parcel for this item is impacted. The proposed retaining walls are shown in brown. They would be along McKinley Avenue and extend into the parcel for the required driveway. The existing drive-through exit for the Dutch Bros would not be accessible due to the retaining wall that is required for the new driveway, which is shown in gray. This concludes the staff presentation of this hearing. Staff recommends council adopt a resolution of necessity determining this parcel is needed for the project and authorize the eminent domain action to acquire the fee title interest. We will now open up for questions from council and public.
All right. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move on to the property owner presentation. Is the property owner here and would like to speak? Is there anyone online with their hand up? I'm not sure if maybe they called in.
There's no one on Zoom.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'm going to bring it back up to the dais. Any questions from the council? Seeing none, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Would anyone like to speak on the 9:10 a.m. number 2 item? This is a resolution of necessity for acquisition, a fee title interest for APN 446-232-39S. Please come up at this time. Seeing no one, City Clerk, is there anyone online who wishes to speak?
Yes, we have Lisa Flores.
Good morning, Lisa. You have 3 minutes.
First off, good morning. The only question I have about this case, has anybody looked into what is going to happen to the employees when they're displaced when you close down a business and it basically never comes back? You know, in this community, we have a really big problem with employment. So you're going to be displacing a bunch of baristas. What happens to them? Anyway, thank you. Bye.
There's no one else online.
All right, I will close the public hearing and bring it up to the dais for action.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilmember Esparza and a second by Councilmember Butterfield. Any objection? Seeing none, item passes 7-0. Thank you. Up next is the 9:15 a.m. item. This is a hearing to consider resolution of necessity for acquisition fee title interest of APN 451-13405. The hearing will be held as follows. Similar to the last one, we're going to hear a presentation from staff, followed by a presentation from the property owner if they're here. We'll take questions from the council, open it up to the public, and then bring it back up to the dais for discussion and action. Good morning, staff.
Good morning, Council. Nancy Bruno, Supervising Real Estate Agent, Capital Projects Department. The item before you today is a hearing to consider a resolution of necessity for the construction of the Blackstone-McKinley BNSF grade separation project to acquire fee title interest of assessor's parcel number 451-13405, owned by Joseph E. Alanis and occupied by Greenway Auto Body. This hearing is to determine whether this parcel is necessary for the project. The city is willing to continue negotiations with the property owners, but in order to maintain the project schedule, this step in determining the necessity of the parcel for the project is critical. The court portion of the process will come later if this RON is adopted. Right now, we are here to determine the parcel is needed and the project cannot proceed without it. We have prepared slides to familiarize council and the public with right-of-way acquisition process, as well as provide information about the project and the impacts to this specific parcel. Are there any questions about the acquisition process that we can answer, or would you like us to proceed to the parcel? Go ahead.
Good morning again, Alex Gonzalez, Transportation Project Management Team. Similar slides as the previous. I'll just show the current location of this specific parcel. This parcel is located on the southwest quadrant of the intersection of Blackstone and McKinley. The parcel is currently, or the property is currently used as an auto body shop. It's just located south of Home Avenue. The exhibit also shows how the parcel for this item is impacted. The proposed retaining walls are shown in brown. They are along Blackstone and McKinley. The elevation difference at this location would be about 0 to 8 feet in elevation difference. This would impact the building's foundation. The existing entrances to the building that are currently used for servicing vehicles along Home Avenue would not be accessible due to the retaining wall and elevation differences. This concludes the staff's presentation of this hearing. Staff recommends council adopt a resolution of necessity determining this parcel is needed for the project and not authorize an eminent domain action to acquire the fee title interest. We will now open up for public questions in council.
Thank you very much. Is the property owner here to speak on the item? City Clerk, is there anyone online with their hand raised? Property owner, perhaps?
We have Brandy McGinnis. I don't know if it's a property owner.
Brandy, are you the property owner?
You know, it's Brady McGinnis, and I'm the attorney who works with the property owner, Mr. Alanis.
Okay, you have the floor.
Oh, great. And I want to start just with the prefatory comment that we understand, and we're not here to challenge the public use and necessity part of this condemnation, but we did want the council to understand that there's some unique issues that are involved with relocation and sale of this property. This property was one of the properties that was rezoned in 16 or 17, I can't remember the year, as neighborhood mixed use, and it's been operating as a legally non-conforming use since that time. Relocating the site, because this condemnation not only involves the sale of the land, but it's also Mr. Alanis' business that needs to be relocated. Trying to find comparable property and being able to relocate the property to another site is difficult, especially along the Blackstone corridor and near the 41, because of the rezoning that's occurred in that area. And it really presents a situation where there's a special and unique attributes to this property that are hard to relocate and identify. So the reason I bring those things up is, you know, we are in the process right now of working on the appraisal, which I know is a separate issue to be determined later. But we are concerned about timing, concerned about the logistics of being able to close this facility and relocate his operations to a comparable site, because there's very few types of sites in that vicinity that will work for his business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, I will take any questions from the council. Do any members of the council have any questions on this item?
Council President, if I may just make a brief comment. I don't think the council takes these items lightly. If the public doesn't see any questions, because this has been a project that's been in the process for more than a decade, and we have full confidence that staff has gone through every single procedural step, and this process is incomplete, and we have faith that the city staff is going to continue to work on getting full acquisition. Ultimately, this $150 million, $70 million project is in the best interest of the public safety of this core of our city. So thank you again. And don't take our lack of questions as not interested, but more of having full faith in city staff and the project's merit.
Thank you, council member. Anyone else? All right, at this time, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Would any member of the chambers like to provide public comment on the 915 item? This is a resolution of necessity for acquisition of fee title interest for APN 451-13405. Please come up at this time. Seeing none, City Clerk, is there anyone online who would like to provide public comment on the 9:15 a.m. item?
Yes, we have Lisa Flores.
Lisa, you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, council members. Yes, Miguel, I agree with you that, the city workers who are overseeing this project may do their due diligence. But the city, it's well known anytime you deal with government and acquisitions of land that they tend to lowball. I would hope that since this project is of such great benefit to the community, that the city of Fresno treats this man fairly and equitably and give him what he is due. That property has been, been what it is for decades. And, just treat him fairly, give him what he is due. Do not undercut, do not change him, because without that property, your project's dead. Thank you for your time.
There are no more speakers online.
All right, I will close the public comment portion of this item and bring it back up to the dais for action.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Councilmember Esparza and a second by Councilmember Arias. Any objection? Seeing none, item passes 6-0. Up next is the 9:20 a.m. number 1 item. This is a hearing. This is a resolution of necessity for acquisition of fee title interest for APN 451-14122. Good morning, staff. Do you have a presentation for us?
Yes, good morning, Council. Nancy Bruno, Supervising Real Estate Agent, Capital Projects Department. This item before you today is a hearing to consider a resolution of necessity for the construction of the Blackstone-McKinley BNSF grade separation project to acquire fee title interest of assessor's parcel number 451-14122, owned by Gurpreet Singh Chauhan and Laquinder Kaur, and occupied by Star Valley Smog. This hearing is to determine whether this parcel is necessary for the project. The city is willing to continue negotiations with the property owners, but in order to maintain the project schedule, the step in determining the necessity of the parcel for the project is critical. The court portion of the process will come later if this RON is adopted. Right now, we are here to determine that this parcel is needed and the project cannot proceed without it. We have prepared slides to familiarize council and the public with the right-of-way acquisition process, as well as provide information about the project and the impacts to the specific parcel.
Good morning, Alex Gonzalez, Transportation Project Management again. Similar slides as before. Just go through them. Just show the changes on this one. The specific parcel is located southeast of the intersection of Blackstone and McKinley. It's currently used as a smog shop. The exhibit shows how the parcel is impacted by the project. The proposed retaining walls are shown in brown, just west of the parcel. A retaining wall would be needed to support the elevation difference of approximately 9 to 18 feet. The existing entrance on Blackstone Avenue would not be accessible due to the retaining wall and elevation difference. This concludes the staff presentation and this hearing. Staff recommends council adopt a resolution of necessity determining this parcel is needed for the project and authorize an eminent domain action to acquire the fee title interest. We will now open up to council for public questions.
Thank you. Is the property owner here and would like to make a presentation? Please come forward. City Clerk, are they online by chance? Anyone with a hand up?
No hands are raised.
All right. Council, any questions on the 9:20 a.m. number 1 item? Seeing none, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Is there any member of the audience who would like to provide public comment on the 9:20 a.m. item? Please come forward at this time. Seeing no one, City Clerk, is there anyone online who would like to provide public comment?
There is no one online.
Okay, I will close the public hearing portion of this item and bring it up to the dais for action. I have a motion by Councilmember Arias and a second by Council Vice President Carbasi. This is for the 9:20 a.m. item. Any objection? Hearing none, item passes 7-0. Okay, next is the consent calendar. Do any council members wish to register a no vote, abstention, or recusal? Please punch up. Okay, we are now going to take public comment on all consent, including contested consent items, as well as the closed session item. Would any member of the public like to speak on items on the consent calendar or on a contested consent item? So if you're here to speak on the animal shelter item, this would be the time to make your public statements. I have a few yellow cards. I believe most of these are for unscheduled communication, but I want to give folks a chance just in case there is an item on the agenda you would like to speak on. Jose Solorio, are you here? Unscheduled, okay. Miss 5250, would you like to speak on an item on the agenda? No, thank you, okay. Miss Drake, unscheduled communication. Unscheduled communication, yes. Miss Williams Vasquez, unscheduled communication, okay. Mr. Elizondo, would you like to speak on an item on the agenda or unscheduled communication? Unscheduled, okay. Mr. Griffith, unscheduled communication as well, okay. All right, if any member of the chambers would like to speak on any agenda item at this time, please go ahead and come forward. Please come forward. As a reminder, this is public comment on an agenda item, so consent, contested consent, or closed session.
Hi there.
Good morning.
My name is Mona Ahmed. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. You have 3 minutes.
Hi. I'm here to talk about backyard breeders. They need to be stopped. And only way to stop them, you guys have to step up, start giving them fines. We are tired of doing this job. Every single day, I have a bag full of posters that I'm pulling it out. These people are selling dogs. And I guarantee you 99% of these people don't have licenses to breed. So nobody's enforcing it. I really need you guys to step up, do something about this. Too many animals are dying. Too many animals are getting put down for no reason. They're great, great dogs. But the saddest part is I'm the one who networks them for city, county, Tulare, Selma, Mendota. Every person, public, calls me if they want to give the dogs away, cats away, any animals away, and we try to find rescues for them. We drive every other Friday night to Oregon to transport animals, to drop it off. So my question comes to what are they doing right and what are we doing wrong? So what we are doing wrong is there's no enforcement and nobody is getting ticket or no punishments are given to them. On a cherry auction, every Tuesday, Saturday, there are trucks and trucks parked there with dogs and puppies are for sale. Central and Cherry, all the shelters to come them to remove it. That's not enough. That's not enough. This needs to be really, somebody has to do something, and that's the reason I'm here.
Can I ask a question, Council President?
Yes, I'll allow that.
You said, there's a certain location where they're selling them?
Yes.
And it's, you said Cherry?
Cherry and Central, every Tuesday, every Saturday, tons of trucks parked there selling, there's crates with puppies.
Okay, so City Attorney, as we move forward with the item that the Council President and I are sponsoring, I think it's important to note what Ms. Ahmed is saying. And, I think the expectation is that we're going to start cracking down, if it's approved, that we start addressing this in a very serious way.
Understood, Council Member. There are some nuances that I would like to discuss with you and the other Council President. And I also think it's a conversation with maybe the City Manager as well, because typically licensing is handled by the Finance Department, such as business licenses, and so we'll have that conversation later. But I agree, we definitely have to step up enforcement.
Yeah, well, that's the whole purpose of what we're bringing forward. So I think Ms. Ahmed is giving us information. I think it's incumbent upon us to utilize that information and to address the problem as We have, dogs that we can't house at the animal center because we're filled to the brim. And so it is incumbent upon this council to address this problem in meaningful ways and in serious ways, not with window dressing, and that's what we're attempting to do. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Because city license for a year is only $50. It should be $5,000. I can sell a broken leg chihuahua for $50 on the street in seconds for you guys. That's wrong. Everything goes up, but why is this thing is not getting addressed? This needs to be addressed.
Well,
I can't see these animals dying. I'm not sleeping at night. I want to help city, but I don't want to do your job.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmed. And there is an item specifically for this discussion, and so I want to make sure we reserve that time for that item.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
I did not realize that this was also closed session.
This is also closed session, yeah.
Okay.
Please state your name, and then you have 3 minutes.
Ms. 5250, D3 resident. Today we have a conference with legal counsel existing litigation Joshua Spengeman v. City of Fresno. The case actually did not originally list City of Fresno because it's a outside contractor. So this contracted employee for, I believe, General Automotive is suing because of harassment, retaliation, and he does have a disability, epilepsy. I believe that we need to know more about what is happening with this. I mean, minimum, at least, let us know if it's some kind of an employee suing the city, if it is a resident suing the city. We have a right to know. This stuff is public information. Anyone can go look it up. So why isn't just the basics listed here for the public so that when they come to these meetings, they can speak on these items? And yesterday, you guys snuck in a contested, or I mean, unscheduled communication at the beginning of the meeting. You, Anna, asked for public comments before the attorney announced what the litigation was about. And it wasn't on the agenda, so, I don't understand that. Then we have conference with legal counsel anticipated in litigation. So does that mean that we have got a cease and desist letter? Does that mean, that someone is trying to sue the city, or the city is trying to sue somebody else? We should at least know that much, that which way this is flipping, so that, because I believe if there is a cease and desist letter, we have a right to see that, because there is no litigation yet. So you guys have to produce those documents, which I'm having difficulty getting any documents from the city. Everything seems to be, confidential, like the trip to Japan. We can't get airplane tickets. We can't get expenses. We don't even know who went, except for the 4 that with their little photo ops on social media. But I hear that it was quite a party, that there was a lot of fun to be had. And where are all the people that were sitting here? I've been researching public meetings. I've been watching on YouTube how other cities conduct their meetings. There's always people sitting down here, I'm assuming department heads, ready to answer questions for this council. But you guys would rather just have it so that, we'll have to get back to you. Oh, I'll look that up. Oh, I don't have that information in front of me. That is sad. It's incompetent, and it's hiding. You guys are trying to hide information from the public. Why? Because you're ashamed of yourselves, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Thank you. Is there any additional members of the public who wish to provide public comment on any item on the agenda? Please come up at this time. This is public comment on consent items, contested consent items, and closed session items. Please go ahead and state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Diane Ramos. I just wanted to piggyback off of what Mona Hamed was indicating and saying about our overpopulation right now. In Fresno, the Central Valley, actually, we have a wonderful network of animal activists and animal advocates who work tirelessly trying to save these animals. And, you know, we network, I mean, with other states and stuff, and they're doing this on their own, but they are exhausted. They are really exhausted. I'm old enough to remember when I was a little girl, I was born and raised here in Fresno. When I was a little girl, I remember my dad every year sending in the registration fees for our animals. Our animals were always registered and licensed. I don't know when we stopped that. I don't know when we stopped taking care of them. I don't know what happened. There's a lot of changes that should be made. There's a missed opportunity for revenue, you know, to come in with the licensing fees. That would take away anybody just having animals when there's a lot of them that shouldn't, you know. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. We need to make some changes. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good morning. You have 3 minutes. Please go ahead and state your name.
Good morning. My name is Lavon Ortega, and I recently started helping Mona and the team with these animals. I went on one of the transports, took 72 animals, 72 little animals that some of them were abused, a lot of them were dumped. Something needs to change, and that's on one Friday. Like Mona had said, every other Friday, they do a run and take these animals out to places that they're going to be able to have lives. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I would recommend that you guys would come out and see Mona load this van with all these animals, and you can see these animals. They're not, some of them have gashes in them, some of them have been burned, some of them have been kicked and abused. I foster, and by the time I have them for a very short time, and those dogs are just so stressed out. By the time that I get them to a place where they're calm, it's time to transport them again. So now they're stressed out again. Yes, something really needs to be done about this situation. It's unbelievable. And like I said, I would recommend to come out and watch this in process. And you can get a better feel of what we're talking about. We're not just up here because we're animal lovers saying, oh, this needs to be. No, this is a big concern for here in Fresno, how they just dump the animals. People that breed them animals, if something's wrong with them, they'll dump them. If they can't sell them, they'll dump them. And who's taking responsibility? Mona is taking the responsibility of getting these animals, and many other people collecting these animals and taking them. So something needs to get done. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Please come up at this time. Good morning. Please state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'm Joan Reynolds, District 4. First time in here, not first time speaking publicly about anything. Not sitting with the animal people, but I love animals, of course. What I'm interested in is what Mr. Arias has spoken about since what's been in the news lately with the police, and actually maybe not even dividing it down racial lines, but the fact that there is nothing done, especially with the, what's it called, union, to do anything about or correct their behavior when they're taking drugs, hurting young children, which I'm familiar with. A man younger than me, but raised with a gold star and candy given by the police later on in life, having had the so-called SHIT beat at him and considered it breaking his heart. So that's just a small thing that was put in my brain along with a few other things. And hopefully something could eventually be done about that. along with possible things that haven't been exposed, like being predators on the street, to statutory, maybe females or whoever, which was, I don't know with this generation, but in my generation it was done. And then again, I would like to address Mr. Bredfeld and his problem with the gentleman and the sign trying to silence a person that is being silent and just showing an opinion. And I don't see anything with no one having a problem with that.
Ma'am, you can direct your comments to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No
I'm
problem.
not looking here. Sorry. Thank you.
No problem.
Not having. Okay. Anyway,
you have one more minute
Take
left.
a pill.
All right. Thank you. Any other member of the public would like to speak on a consent item, contested consent, or closed session item? Please come up at this time. See none. Is there anyone on Zoom, City Clerk, who would like to provide public comment on a consent, contested consent, or closed session item?
We have Karen Simmons Gillian.
Good morning, Karen. You have 3 minutes. Please state the agenda item you would like to speak on.
Karen, unmute yourself.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm speaking on behalf of the agenda item that has been pulled regarding the African American Historical and Cultural Museum. Is this the correct time to do that?
That will be a little bit later in the agenda,
Okay.
under unscheduled communication.
Okay, I will wait then.
That'll be coming up shortly. Thank you.
We have Linda Miller.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning. Please state
Hi.
the agenda item you'd like to speak on, and then you have 3 minutes.
Well, I just wanted to add to what Mona was talking about. And the backyard breeding is a skill. This isn't just something you jump into to make money. You have to know what you're doing and what dogs you can breed with. Like, you can't breed 2 Merle dogs together, and if you do, they'll end up having defects. So this isn't something just somebody can get a license for. They have to actually prove that they know what they're doing. So I think she's correct. It has to be $5,000 to get a license for this. And they're not only just breeding dogs, they're giving the dogs C-sections themselves. So they're cutting these dogs open, no medication, and then they're just throwing the dogs away. They're selling the puppies, and if the mom doesn't live, oh well, they'll just get another one. It is really bad what's going on. All you have to do is go on Craigslist, and you have got free dogs, not free dogs. Some of the rescue people are giving away free dogs after they spay and neuter them, but you've got breeders selling dogs for thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars. I live up in Corsgold, actually. I'm sorry, but I help down there too. And I am just amazed. I can't even believe how bad it is. And it's so sad watching all this. And I appreciate what Mona's done. There's quite a few people that are helping. And I'm glad that we have a vet now at the shelter. And I know that it can get fixed if you guys will just, there's so much abuse going on too. And people are getting dogs that they don't know what those dogs' needs are. And so the dogs are frustrated and jumping over fences and attacking people. It just has to be enforced. The laws have to be enforced. Abuse has to be enforced. People have to get in trouble for that. And thank you for letting me speak.
Next, we have Anita Lay.
Good morning. Please state the agenda you'd like to speak on, the agenda item. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm also speaking on the dog issue. The people saving these dogs and animals are volunteers. Many of these volunteers have full-time jobs of their own, yet they're out here, so many are out here spending their spare time rescuing from the street. They're fostering animals, bringing them into their homes, taking care of them, and just like LaVon said, they're very stressed out They've often been abused, or they just, they just don't know what's going on. And then there's also the people volunteering to transport to rescues miles and miles away from here. I am actually one of those people, and I am actually going out there tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be driving, who knows, maybe 100 animals. It can be as small as 40, and it can be over 100. It all depends on what Mona can do and what all those other rescuers out there can do that weekend. We're tired. There's no breaks for these volunteers. There's always people selling dogs on social media, and all we can do is report the post for community guidelines. Our shelters are full of huskies, German shepherds, pit bulls, and they're all a product of breeding. And huskies especially, they're from Alaska and Siberia. They have no reason to be here in Fresno, but people think they're cute. And as a puppy, they're adorable. They're these little fluffy things, and they're so cute, barking, and and people get them. And just like the last person said, they don't have any education on what these dogs need. A lot of these are working dogs, and people don't realize that these dogs need to have something to do. Otherwise, they will, be obnoxious. And then these people are getting rid of their dogs, posting on social media that they just have to get rid of their dogs because there's nothing they can do about it anymore. So not only do I think that licensing and enforcement and stuff like that needs to be done, but also education as far as, when the dog is adopted, people should know what type of dog they're adopting and what type of care or what type of thing it's going to be, because huskies, German shepherds, they're working dogs. They need to have something to do. And especially blue heelers, with a cartoon out there, everyone likes Bluey, the little kids like Bluey, but those are some hard dogs to handle, and people can definitely get frustrated and putting their dog out there for adoption again. But thank you for letting me speak.
Next, we have Lisa Flores.
Good morning, Lisa. Please state the agenda item, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Oh, it's about the dogs and about Mr. Bredefeld's comments. First off, God bless you, Mona, and everybody that rescues and gets dogs to safe places and into loving homes. Seriously, you do the work of St. Francis of Assisi every day, and you have my mad respect, as well as the respect of the over 300 people that I represent in the 2 oldest dog play groups here in Fresno. We often see through the last decade of both the Chihuahua Club and the small dog play group out of Puppy Love Roding Park. We've come across, we've heard stories, we've been involved, dogs that are dumped in the park, dogs that people rescue, and have a very difficult time in the city of Fresno finding a place for these dogs that either have lost their way or have been dumped. It is the saddest thing to see. And what's even sadder is yesterday you had Mr. Tyler Maxwell did a motion to provide $75,000 for landscape over at Marjorie Mason, who has more than a couple of $1 million to buy their own landscape. That $75,000 could buy a lot of gas, just transport some of our little puppies and older dogs out of this community to communities that want them and need them. And I think that the city of Fresno has their, you guys, your priorities are really screwed up. It's nice to have a tree, but if an organization has the money to buy their own tree, let them buy their own tree, unless, of course, it's for a photo op. Now, the second thing I want to talk about, Ms. Perea, is it inappropriate for a city council person to make demeaning comments about a person's right to execute their protected political speech? Because I remember when I got turned down planning commission for calling Gary a death dealer, he got really hurt and upset. And that was my protected political speech. Now, Gary's going to use city resources to find out that the gentleman in question that he doesn't agree with has rights under the First Amendment. Amen. Just seems hypocritical to me. So, City of Fresno, City Council, get right. Thank you.
Next, we have Savannah Kentari.
Good morning, Savannah. Please state which agenda item you'd like to speak on, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here today. I would like to share my thoughts on ID 24-824 regarding the dog licenses for breeding. I've been a volunteer for rescues for 4 years now, and all I have been seeing is that times are getting worse and worse. And part of the reason is because of breeders out there, whether they're licensed or not. Unfortunately, we have an overcrowded shelter or shelters in our city, and they are not able to take in any more dogs or cats or whatever animal it may be. And if we enforce the law of giving fines to breeders and just make the consequences a little bit more harsh, I think it will put an end to people breeding, or it will at least decrease the amount of breeders out there. We all know that if an action has a harsher consequence to it, then it's unlikely to take place. So if we enforce the law and give out fines, larger fines, and actually give consequences to these breeders, I have a feeling that it will impact the amount of dogs that we're seeing roaming, being dumped, being abused, being kicked, being unwanted. So I ask that the city enforces their laws and uses their income, I guess you could say, from these fines to provide spaying and neutering opportunities, more resources to the community, educating the community, because we need that work or that information out there for our community. Unfortunately, a lot of people do not know what to do when they come across an unwanted animal, a roaming animal, or a sick animal. So if we can use the money that we're getting from the fines to implement into educating the community and helping the community, I think that would be a wonderful action to take. Thank you for your time. Thank you for covering this topic today. We look forward to having many more. Again, I appreciate you hearing us out, and we hope to see some change in the near future. Thank you.
Next, we have Carrie Widmer.
Good morning, Carrie. Which agenda item would you like to speak on?
Hello, can you hear me okay?
We can, yeah. Which agenda item would you like to speak on?
On the animals,
Okay.
on the animals.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, I come from a large city up in Oregon, and I'm just amazed the difference in the pet overpopulation issue that we have here compared to Portland. And a lot of it, in my opinion, is the lack of enforcement. People can't have their dogs not spayed or neutered. To be able to breed, you actually have to be a legitimate breeder, spayed and neutered. And also, and you have to have your dog's license. Just like the city provides a fire department, a police department, and they're expected to do their job, I don't see our city shelter, our county shelter, given the opportunity to do their job. They're so overwhelmed because the city just turns their heads on all of these animals that are being bred. I can get on Craigslist this morning or social media and provide you 25 backyard breeders. It's so in your face and so obvious, but I don't believe our volunteers, our city shelter that is being paid by your taxpayers to do this, your county shelter, they're just too overwhelmed. And so it's just like running on a treadmill. I think the city needs to step up and enforce. We have one of the worst pet overpopulations in the nation, and our city just tries to put a Band-Aid, and not even a Band-Aid. I mean, it's just the revolving euthanasia. People like Mona putting in way too many hours. You have your volunteers that in this city that are just overwhelmed, and the city just turns their head and does not enforce any of the spay and neuter laws or backyard breeder laws. I can find you, again, 25 backyard breeders if you give me the next hour in the city of Fresno that are making a fortune off of French bulldogs, labradoodles, pit bulls, you name it, huskies, German shepherds, which the shelters are overwhelmed with, yet the city just turns their head on all these backyard breeders. It's just really sad, and I really appreciate Mona and everybody on here that puts their heart and soul into animal rescue. It's just really sad, and I think Fresno should be ashamed of themselves as a government for turning their heads on the animals and the people. That's it. Thanks.
Next, we have Brandy N.
Good morning, Brandy. Which agenda item would you like to speak on?
QT as well. And this is very brief, but I remember when we had an item within the last year or so that would have prevented animals that weren't severely injured being put in the animal shelter because of the overpopulation. So I just want to stand with the other people who were speaking before and support this moratorium and appreciate the idea of looking at what is a contributor to overpopulation regarding licenses and giving permission to dealing with the licenses themselves and creating a moratorium as an effort to prevent to address overpopulation. And I also want to take a moment to thank everyone who had spoken, to you, to let you know, express my appreciation for those who have been working at animal rescue. I know it's a lot of work and it's exhausting, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Next, we have Talia Arnes.
Good morning, Talia. Which agenda item would you like to speak on?
Yes, I would like to speak on the dog license moratorium.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. As some of the council members know, because you know me personally, I do rescue on my own, and this dog licensing issue has been a problem for a long time. Actually, to begin, most people don't even know what a dog license is. I worked at the SPCA for 9 years. I discontinued working there in 2020. And my sole job was to educate people on dog licensing, getting them to be compliant. And unfortunately, most of the times when I would have conversations with people, they just simply didn't know what it was. And it is very simple to get a breeder's license. All you have to do is pay the dog licensing fee of $50, and you don't have to spay neuter your animal, and you can continue doing that. And currently, the way that our municipal code is written is that they're allowed to have a breeder female once a year. And that honestly is just too much, because they could technically breed that dog every single year until the dog dies. And so that's definitely a problem. I personally take in animals from the community. I get frequent calls. Constantly, I'm getting messages on Facebook. I'm getting texts where people need help. So I know that the city, in order to prevent euthanasia, they've sort of closed the doors, the city and the county, and also SPCA is no longer taking surrenders. They're so overwhelmed with the amount of animals that are being neglected that they have to go and confiscate, and the animals that are being abandoned, because they still deal with animal cruelty cases. So right now, the shelters that would provide a service previously, none of the shelters are really providing a good outlet for people. And I'm not saying that euthanasia is a good outlet, but it's definitely, it's not working. Whatever we're doing right now, it's not working. And it all stems from the amount of animals that are being bred. So the dog licensing fee definitely needs to be increased, and there needs to be some sort of repercussion, like what's gonna happen after if they aren't compliant. That's really like the issue. Is it gonna be like they get a ticket, like if they're not wearing a seatbelt? That's something that we need to really consider. And I have lots of examples. Currently, I have 3 labradoodles that the breeder cannot sell. and they're in my backyard. There I have them. And just like those 3, I have another 2 that the owners gave up. And all these dogs stem from animals that were born either through accidental breeding or purposeful breeding. I have both examples in my house. My house is basically turning into a shelter. And so we definitely need to crack down on breeders of all kinds. Thank you.
There are no more speakers online.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar? I have a motion by Councilmember Maxwell and a second by Councilmember Arias. Any objection? See none, item passes 7-0. All right, folks, so up next, we do have 2 contested consent items. After that, we will take unscheduled communication. So if you're here for unscheduled, that is coming up shortly. Up first, our first contested consent item is 2N. City Manager, are you ready for 2N, as in Nancy?
I was able to resolve the issue. Thank you very much. I would be fine if one of you wanted to make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilmember Butterfield to approve item 2N as in Nancy, and a second by Council Vice President Karbasi. Any objection? Hearing none, item passes 7-0. All right, up next is item 2T. This is a resolution to provide a temporary moratorium on the issuance of new unaltered dog licenses. This is subject to the mayor's veto. This one was sponsored by myself as well as Councilmember Butterfield. So thank you, Councilmember, for stepping up to the plate with me on this one. It's no surprise that we have an overpopulation of animals in our city, on our streets, in our shelters. We've talked about it for a while now. We've talked about it more so recently at our budget hearings last week. It is a crisis. It really is. And I commend folks like Mona. We've heard your name several times today, but you're a staple in the community. And I've stepped up to the plate and have fostered dogs myself. And it's tough work. And so I can imagine the folks that are fostering and they now feel like they have their own animal center in their own backyard. Everyone's wanting to step up and play a role in helping us to solve this problem. And I do think there's more that we can be doing as a city to help with this overpopulation of animals on our streets. And this item is hopefully going to help us get a little bit closer to doing that. Right now, we have about 140 cats at the Fresno Animal Center and about 230 dogs. 230 dogs within a shelter that should only be able to hold around 102. At the most we've ever had, 500 dogs in a shelter that is constructed to hold around 100 dogs. That's over 500 dogs. So what this moratorium does is it places a moratorium on the city to issue more breeding licenses. But we all know that not everyone gets a license to breed, they just go out and breed. And so what this ordinance also does is it sets fines for people that are breeding without a license. What's in this resolution is a structured license. It starts at $500 for the first violation. The second one is $750. The third one is $1,000. And every fine thereafter will be $1,000. But I don't think that's enough. I think we need to do more. And so, City Attorney, is he here? Or Raj? Would it be possible if we wanted to update this resolution to say, instead of start at 500, can we just start at 1,000? Every occurrence, 1,000?
I believe we can do that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Would that be considered a substantial change to where we would need to bring this item back?
I think we would like an opportunity to vet that to make sure that there are no issues with multiple infractions. And I know that there were some other questions surrounding what that applies to, every instance, or so I would like to look at it and we could have it done for you for next week.
Okay. Our next council meeting is next week, so it's coming up shortly, and I would rather do it right the first time and really set a framework for fines at the maximum penalty possible to go after these breeders who are breeding illegally. And I'll just say that these breeders are breeding a lot faster than we can save these poor animals. And it's about time that we do more to step up and to stop this crisis on our streets. City Manager, we are still turning away animals from our shelter, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so I think I've heard it before, but even our own staff is saying that it's almost safer for them to be on the streets than it is for them to be in an overcrowded shelter where disease possibly could spread.
You are correct. The more overcapacity we are, the higher the euthanasia rates are for two reasons. One, the potential for disease to spread, and two, we just simply don't have room. There just is not enough room. And I know as much as our mayor and this council wants to not euthanize animals for shelter room, we've talked about this. We can't have it both ways. We can't accept we can't have 500 animals in a shelter that is set up for 100. So it is a very unfortunate situation, but it's just the fact.
Yeah, understood. My message out to the community is if you are currently breeding or thinking about breeding, stop. Please stop, because we will be enforcing this resolution to the extent that we can. We have spent endless amounts of money for our Fresno Animal Center. We are spending record amounts of money on spay and neuter, but we have to stop the problem where it's starting, and that's through these backyard illegal breeders. So I would love to pass this resolution today, but I think there is opportunity to make this stronger. And so I will be working with our city attorney's office over the next few days to make sure that we do everything we can to strengthen this resolution and bring it back next week. But at this time, Councilmember Bredefield, you have the floor.
Thank you. What is the cost for a breeding license now? Do we know?
So you're talking about, I just want to make sure we're using the proper terminology. It's an unaltered dog license. So I don't believe we have what's called a breeding license. We have a dog license for animals that are altered, and we have a dog license for animals that are unaltered. Alma, can you come forward? I don't believe we have something that's called like, hey, you can breed.
Right, which is the problem.
It's peanuts, though, and so what I would,
to
your point, we need to fix that as well.
Well, as we've talked about, we've got to clean up our municipal code language on breeding. We are way behind the times. I mean, I think they've outlined the problem very clearly. We need to clean up our language. So I'm asking the city attorney to be working with staff so we get with the times and address the problem in a serious way. If breeding licenses should be $5,000 because they're making lots of money on this, then we should be charging whatever it is, and we should be hiring the people to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that this problem is seriously addressed. This council left SPCA because we didn't like what was going on there. We spent millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars to build this animal center, and there are shortfalls in what we're attempting to do, clearly. And I want to make sure in the remaining 7 months that I have here that before I leave, we seriously have addressed this problem. I think we need to do a couple of things. One, and this can be addressed, I think instead of a $1,000 fine when we find somebody doing this, we should look at, and Council President Perez and I discussed, perhaps having a fine of $1,000 for every dog they're trying to sell. This ought to hurt. We ought to make people hurt who are creating this problem in our community. We should also look at misdemeanors, not only a financial fine, but a criminal penalty for this. We should look at creating a task force in your code enforcement division, and we should fund it so that people can go out and address these people who are illegally doing this. I think the council is absolutely committed to this. We've spent, and I know the administration is as well, we spent millions of dollars building this first-class facility, and we're not effectively addressing the overpopulation of these dogs. And a lot of it has to do with this illegal breeding, and that we are behind the times of even addressing in our own language the municipal code to address the problem. So we have to clean that up. We have to put fines in place that are going to make people pay attention to what the city is doing. We need to send out a message that it's not okay to be doing this anymore. And so we will be setting up a meeting with the administration, with city attorneys, with Council President Perea, with Alma, Santino from Finance, and we're going to have to seriously take a look at how we address this problem. And I think it's going to involve having to address it with a code enforcement way of dealing with it. And we're going to have to clean up the language with the municipal code and seriously begin to address this problem. I don't want the city to be complicit in any way in not addressing this problem. We have committed so much resources, so many resources to this. And, you know, I know people at the Animal Center are overwhelmed, and I know that people in our community are frustrated. And so it really is incumbent upon all of us to step up and address this in a serious way and become a leader in making sure that illegal breeding comes to an end, and that people who are truly breeders are doing the good work of breeding. So I think this is a step in the right direction. Thank you to Council President Perea for your leadership on this, and we'll move forward in making sure we address this in an effective way.
Thank you, Councilmember. Up next, Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President. And first off, I want to thank all our rescue partners. Mona, thank you for the work you do. I know you partner a lot with our other folks. There's a lot of folks doing great work. TNR, Brandy, Mels Mutz. I see a lot of the posts because I follow the pages, and I think the best way to describe what you're going through is you're exhausted. I mean, it's just such a heavy lift for a lot of our folks that are out there working. By the way, that most of them do it on donations and shoestring budgets. 100% supportive of what Council President Perea and Councilmember Bredefeld are wanting to do. I just want to, as we're kind of working through the ordinance, and maybe this is a question for our legal team to kind of put it on their docket. So City Attorney Andrew Jantz, just want to put some things on your radar. One, obviously, we're going to have to hone in on the definition of a breeder, right? What does that actually mean for folks out there? Does it mean more than once? Does it mean that we collect pictures, advertisements, posts on social media? I think that's going to be important because I would like to get clarity on that. I'm actually going to be having my staff help out with that effort in reporting and making sure we give you all the evidence that you need, because I think it's such a rampant problem in our neighborhoods that it requires an all hands on deck approach. But I do want to make sure that we iron out what that legal threshold will be so that we're doing our due diligence. Also, the logistics of what that will look like, I think, will be helpful for the council to understand. Obviously, there'll be a report of a dog breeder of, you know, everything I just described. What would be the next step for our city attorney's office, our code enforcement folks? What would that look like? And then ultimately, the fine, I agree with what Council President Perez said. I think it needs to be, you know, heavy-handed. I think the $1,000 to start off with should be the penalty. And I honestly think we should be looking at higher fines for habitual offenders that make thousands of money off of little puppies out there. I also want to make sure that, you know, we put those folks on notice. I believe it was you, Mona, that talked about the cherry auction and their irresponsible behavior out there in their facility. What's a little bit of a head scratcher is that cherry auction had the ability to sic the county code enforcement folks on mobile food vendors that were on the sides, but don't do enough to clean up their own act. And I've been out there, I've seen those cages that they have the puppies in. They have kittens, they have rabbits, parrots, a number of animals that they sell out there. I have also seen folks post up outside of our own fairgrounds facilities over on Butler in Chance neighborhood. So I just want to put all that on our radar for our code enforcement folks as we're getting ready to deploy. I think once we're ready, like I said, I'm going to be deploying my staff to do some of this effort and help, because it's a problem. Sometimes you can't walk through neighborhoods in South Fresno without encountering, 5, 6, 7, 8 dogs, and it breaks your heart. That's how we actually ended up with our dog. Our dog Mendy is actually a rescue dog that was abandoned out there. We just couldn't take her to a shelter. It was a difficult decision, but I know people are not in that position to do that. So 100% supportive. I just want to make sure we get all the logistics in order and make sure that we're ready to enforce this. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Great suggestions. Up next, Councilmember Arias.
Is our official animal experts here today? Would that be you?
Did you want the pound master or the interim animal director?
Whichever one can tell me what is the county's practice on this, because I just did a quick Google search and it looks like their license fee for breeders is $39. So as you know, we're also governed by the county. Is the county specifically doing anything about managing breeders and enforcing licensing requirements?
We can certainly reach out to the county to get that information for you.
All right. Can legal counsel, can you actually send a correspondence to the chief administrative officer and ask them specifically, why is it that they're not enforcing the sale of animals in the cherry auction facilities and in the county facilities? Because I was at the cherry auction a couple weekends ago. I was also at the Tower District Farmers Market, and there's folks walking around with animals that they're selling. It's being done openly. At their cherry auction, I'm assuming it's authorized by the owner of the auction, because they have, they're inside and they have dozens of locations where you can buy animals. So as Member Chavez indicated, a few months ago they sent out their enforcement arm to find people for selling hot dogs, but walk by people selling animals with no enforcement.
I don't have all of the specifics to the regulations at the cherry auction, but I too have witnessed. Typically, it's more along the side of Cherry Avenue, closer to north. So there's an area there where there have been animal setups where they are selling animals.
Have you observed the sale of animals inside the auction?
I have not been to the cherry auction in a while.
Oh, yeah.
So, no.
They offer an array of animals, including dogs and cats.
I do believe that a while back they had limited that, so we can certainly, look into that.
Okay, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and I think we're going to have to look at this two ways. One is the fine structure for the breeders, and another is a fine structure for the commercial owners that are hosting the breeders. Everybody's making money off the sale of animals, and the taxpayers are having to pay the bill when it comes to putting them down because they're injured or tossed away. So it'd be nice to be able to send a bill to the owners, commercial owners of these establishments that are facilitating the sale of animals. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember. These are all great points, and I think it's important to make aware that as we set the bar high in our city, that we don't push the problem out to the other cities and into the county. And so I think it's important for the advocates to continue to apply pressure to the other 14 cities in our county, including the county of Fresno. I have no doubt that they likely feel the same way we do here. It's just, we'll set the pace, and it's important that we continue to advocate all around our county. Up next, we have Councilmember Carbasi.
Thank you, Madam President, and I appreciate the you and Councilmember Redefeld taking the lead on this issue. I did, in a motion that hopefully will be passed the budget process, allocate $350,000 to the creation of a new team to focus on misdemeanors for petty crimes and going after egregious folks that violate tenants' rights. But City Attorney, I feel like maybe you would need resources to be able to really go after these illegal breeders with some teeth And hopefully after a year or two of doing that, you'd set the standard. But resources are necessary. What if we were able to potentially create this unit and make that the priority of the unit? Would that be of any help? I don't know if my two colleagues have any feelings on that.
You know, at this point, I'd prefer to have a meeting with the city manager first in terms of how this would look in terms of working with the animal center and her other departments.
And this may quite possibly be a good task for our after-hours code team, because this problem happens during the day, in the evenings, on the weekends, and so that might be where we house. But we can have those conversations this week leading up to the next council meeting and report back next week.
Sounds good.
Any other comments?
Oh, random thing. It's very dangerous to bring up random things at a meeting, but I'll bring it up. We're not talking about illegal breeders, but for those folks, I mean, everyone's required to have a dog license in Fresno, correct?
You are correct.
I don't know what the compliance rate is on that, but would it help? I mean, I know the fees are based on the staff time and things like that, but would it help to maybe have, assuming that we already are not collecting those fees, maybe a 1-year moratorium or a 3-month moratorium, get your dog's license, get compliant, and then we'll move forward from there and just show people how easy it is to get a dog license in Fresno.
Yeah, I think that'll be part of the discussion when we sit down with the council members and the city attorney's office to talk about the current license fee, which is, I completely agree. To answer the specific question, I don't know that it ever got answered, but the annual fee for spay and neutered dog is $12 for and it doesn't say unaltered, but it's dog 4 months or older is $50. So obviously, because I think 4 months and older is probably breeding age, we definitely need to, I know you guys have touched it from the citation side, but we, as part of this, when we come back, I would suggest that we work on that as well. So yes, all yes to what everybody has said here. I think when we get in the room together and plot out the plan and get with the finance department, and you know, talk about how we are going to enforce this. I think these are all great ideas.
Is the thought that the $50 is too high? Because there is a risk. If it's an unaltered dog and it's breeded, that creates a public cost.
No, so I just have to be honest. What has happened is the resources to enforce this have been reduced in the past,
Sure,
and
understood.
never beefed back up. And in not for any fault of the rescues and the organizations out there, we have not come back and said we need additional resources. I think this whole animal, right, because we took over the animal center before SPCA was handling this aspect. So this was always part of the plan. We just hadn't gotten to it yet, but I understand the urgency because of all the work that the rescues are doing. So, I mean, this certainly has elevated our need to come back to you all to ask for the additional resources for the animal, to be able to designate more animal resource officers to be able to enforce this.
Understood. And again, thank you so much, and thank you to Council President and Councilmember Bredefeld.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is it sounds like there's general, hopefully majority support here to support this item, but that we still have work to do. I think there are opportunities to strengthen this resolution and make it a little bit more heavy-handed on those that are contributing greatly to this overpopulation problem. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion to table this item and bring it back at the next council meeting. I have a second by Councilmember Bredefeld. Any objection to that? Seeing none, item passes 7-0. Thank you for your advocacy today. All right, we're going to move on to unscheduled communication. If you have not yet filled out a yellow card and would like to speak during unscheduled communication, please come up at this time and fill out a card. We are going to start with Miss Drake. I think it says Carol Drake. Good morning. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I am Dr. Carolyn Drake, and I'm a board member, and I'm going to be speaking on the African American Museum. I'm also the Dean Emeritus at Fresno City College. I was the Dean of Health Sciences. I am a nurse, As a dean, I was made aware of the relationship between the museum and State Center Community College. There would be no museum if the district, through Dr. Bill Stewart, Chancellor, did not buy into our founder, Jack Kelly's vision of a place to house his photos that he carried in the trunk of his car. I have been on the board since 2018. I have witnessed the many changes our boards have gone through to reach this point. We finally got it right. We have the right personnel, the right members. We even got approval from the Park and Recreation. What could possibly go wrong? I even came down here last Thursday to thank all of you for giving us this money that we thought, the funds that we thought we had. On Monday, we met with our councilman who told us that we would be setting precedent if we were to use any of our funds to do internal repairs. We said, okay. Then we later found out that others have been granted internal repairs. So that was confusing, little discrepancies for us. So I think it's something that we can still find common ground if we keep focused on the need of the community to have a functional African American museum. The city of Fresno has the opportunity through its budget process to stabilize and enhance a cultural corridor. If the African American Historical and Cultural Museum is supported, it can continue to be one of the anchors of this cultural corridor. It is within walking distance of another art museum. This provides the potential for dynamic synergy between cultural entities. Maintaining the exterior and interior of this cultural gem fulfills the promise to the new generation of Fresno who have chosen to live in this dynamic environment. It provides a centrally located destination point within the city that benefits all of your constituents. I urge you to make an investment in a new vision of Fresno, one that supports cross-cultural innovation and arts. Thank you.
Thank you. And just as a reminder to the public, if you hear that ding, that means you have 1 minute left to speak. All right, up next we have Alondra Williams Vasquez.
Thank you, Council. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Alondra Williams Vasquez. I am the African American Historical and Cultural Museum's Executive Director. I sent everyone an email earlier this morning with a compromise that hopefully fits, is a better fit and works better for council approval and to get us back on the agenda. We formally request reinstatement onto the council agenda. Our submission compromises a revised scope of work for city council review. It represents a significant compromise that we think would be equitable for both parties. It addresses Councilmember Arias's concern regarding the external repairs while prioritizing our core focus, which is the HVAC repair. We seek full council support for our agenda reinstatement, emphasizing the principles of equity and inclusion for this vital city asset. And we thank you so much for your consideration.
All right, up next is Brandon Griffith.
Good morning. Brandon Griffith, Vice President, Fresno Firefighters Local 202. I first want to start out saying I am very appreciative of this council and this administration. For the last 4 to 5 years, the upstaffing we've done to our fire department has been huge. We are the 5th biggest city in California, and through the steps we've taken, we have grown our fire department to a level that we've never seen before, but we still have some work to do because we are the 5th biggest city. That being said, yesterday there was a motion made to take money from our pension fund, not from our fund, but from the payment to fill a gap in funding. After speaking yesterday with our representative that sits on our retirement board, President Sanders and I thought it was important for one of us to be down here today. He apologizes, he's on duty, he could not be here. But we wanted to put on record that we are adamantly against doing that. We think it's a scary thing to do, and it can open up doors to places we don't want to go. So that's all I wanted to speak today. And once again, I want to thank you for what you've done for the department, and I hope we can keep growing to get to the levels we need to protect the city. That's the 5th biggest city in California. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. I typically don't do this, but I did get a request from Council Vice President to speak.
Brandon, thank you for taking the time to come down here.
No problem.
I want to clarify something. So I understand there may be a difference of opinion. I want you to understand why, I don't want to speak for Councilman Bredefeld, but why I'm pursuing this. You know how important the fire department is to this council. It's important to me personally. And it's important to the public. Everyone loves our firefighters, and they want to make sure you're safe. And you have exposure to higher cancer rates. You have exposure to carcinogens unlike any other profession in this city. Right now, the police and fire pension is super funded at 115%. I hope that's not incorrect, 116%. And the surplus above 100% is well over $240 million. Maybe it's 260, some high amount.
268.
268. See, you know better than I do. Now, what we're talking about, and we have to get creative because we want to cut nothing from the department. I know you're worried about a slippery slope. I would just want to state on the record, this is not meant to raid or to take away any dollars out of the current pension system. It's about altering the payment we have right now that was supposed to go up 2% this year. We are trying to do everything we can and not set a precedent because I completely understand. I just want to make it very clear on the record, my intention is not to set a precedent. It's only looking at it because it's such a super funded pension for this 1 year to help us get through this process. And if you have any feedback, you're welcome to provide it.
Yeah, I understand. From me and President Sanders' standpoint, we are not the experts on our retirement board. We have a member that sits on it, attends all the meetings, and you don't become an expert by doing this for 2 or 3 months. The retirement board is very, there's a lot of ins and outs to it. So he's been there for many years, and we consider him our expert in that. So his recommendation to us was that we don't go down this road.
That makes sense. Let me put it down this way. I have never met with the retirement board. Here's my message for them. I cannot go to my residents and tell them our pensions are ridiculously funded to the tune of $250 million, and now I have to cut parks. I have to cut potentially police. I have to cut potentially roads, which we have a lot of potholes in this community, to help keep 4 firefighters a rig. Maybe it would be incumbent upon them to help give a little bit back so we're not overpaying. That's my message for those folks.
Yeah, and I understand that, but you got to realize it's not just us in that retirement system.
I understand.
It's all the employees of the city of Fresno. Yeah. So one more comment. Right. One thing I was told a long time ago, troops don't fund tanks. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I mean? You give us the equipment and we do the best job we can. So,
fair enough. Thank you, Brandon. That's very helpful. Thank you. Appreciate you.
City Attorney, am I allowed to continue this conversation, or should we?
We strongly urge that you don't. This is not agendized.
Thank you. All right, up next, we have Jose Solorio.
Not for continued debate, but when 3 dozen officers don't show up to work, requires us to pay time and a half,
Thank you,
bankrupting overtime.
Councilmember. Thank you. Jose Solorio, you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, everyone gathered here in the chamber. I'm here along with my comrades representing the Fresno Brown Berets and other natives of Turtle Island. We're here to speak out in support of the Palestinian people, as well as Sudan, Haiti, the Congo, other occupied lands. We reject the complicity of this council, this city, this state, and this country in these atrocities. We condemn this city council's refusal to call for a ceasefire in Palestine. We condemn the council members who refuse to stand in solidarity with our Palestinian brothers and sisters at their flag-raising ceremony. We condemn the Islamophobic and Zionist rhetoric spewed by this council, particularly Gary Bredfeld and the council president Annalisa Perez's refusal to condemn his comments. Our tax dollars, Fresno's tax dollars, are being sent to commit war crimes in the Palestinian lands, and this council refuses to do anything about it. We call on this council to immediately adopt a policy of transparency and divestment against corporations doing any business with Israel. We demand that this council instead choose to invest in our communities and to stop funding the genocide of the Palestinian people. That being said, we bring forth the list of the following grievances against this illegal settler colonial empire that is the United States and its ally Israel. Whereas Palestine and Turtle Island are both currently occupied by illegal colonial states, Whereas the United States Empire, by coward, whereas the United States Empire has committed genocide against the indigenous people of Turtle Island and aided in genocide around the world. Whereas the United States is directly supporting Israel's genocide of Palestinians through our tax dollars, providing weapons and other military aid used in their destruction. Whereas the United States refuses to hold Netanyahu accountable for his civilian casualties. Whereas generations of indigenous people around the world have had their land stolen by illegal colonial empires. We demand the following. 1, the Fresno City Council divest from all companies doing business with Israel. 2, an immediate ceasefire in the occupied land of Palestine with self-determination and equal rights granted to all Palestinians. 3, an end to the funding of the IDF and Israel's military campaigns in Palestine that are being supported by United States tax dollars. 4, an acknowledgement that Israel has committed genocide against Palestinian people. 5, public support from Joe Biden and the U.S. UN ambassador that Palestine and Palestinians have a right to their land. 6, that all stolen lands in Palestine and here on Turtle Island be returned to indigenous peoples whom they rightfully belong to. In such, we desecrate these flags as a rejection of imperialism and genocidal acts that their empires carry out, and in honor of those killed by imperialist empires they represent. Free Palestine, free Sudan, free the Congo, free Haiti, free occupied lands across this globe. And fuck you, Gary Bredfeld.
Up next, we have Miss 5250. Miss 5250, are you here?
You know I'm here.
You have 3 minutes. Good morning.
Okay. Miss 5250, crazy for justice on YouTube. Do any of you know why I chose that moniker? Well, it's because the minute I started bad-mouthing Jerry Dyer back in 2019, I was arrested. My phone was kept by Jordan Wamhoff of the Fresno Police Department, and the Office of Independent Review could give a shit. I couldn't get names from even people like the public attorney's office or the city attorney's office, refusing to give me names. Just like one of Jerry Dyer's staff, who Jerry Dyer, I'd like to point out, is not here, and Tyler Maxwell, Esparza, Carbasi, or Perea are in their seats right now. Is this the end of the meeting? Because that's when unscheduled communication you earlier said was going to be at the end of the meeting. So it's just another way to avoid public comment. I hope you do have another unscheduled communication at the end for the people that are waiting for after lunch that don't realize that this is going on now. This signage and Gary Bredfeld talking about people being idiots. We're not going to stop with the signs. This sign was made by this man's wife. Yolanda was a homicide detective for the Fresno Police Department, but she can't even get justice. She can't get justice. So how are the rest of us supposed to get any justice? It's not going to happen, Gary. We'll bring more signs. Maybe you could put us up here in the balcony. Other council meetings, they have signs too. You cannot stop free speech. It's one of our First Amendment's rights given to us by God, not by the Constitution, not by the United States government. This is our God-given rights. But you guys don't care about that. We have to give up our Fourth Amendment right just to get in this building and exercise our First Amendment right. Also, that litigation that's happening later, the code in here states that that there should be more disclosure. D2 is talking about additional disclosure, which I doubt there will be. Shame on all of you. Maybe you should read the Constitution. I have one, If any of you need one, I have some pocket constitutions.
Thank you very much. Up next is Mr. Fernando Paul Elizondo.
Like
Good
they
morning.
say,
You have
save
3
the
minutes.
Say the best for last. Peace be with you. The Lord is my strength and my defense. I'm a retired federal government inspector. I'm also a Vietnam veteran with full honors, not a National Guard like Gary Benefield. Remember this? I guess I'm your target now, Gary, but you got a big one coming. The Lord is with me. You call my signs stupid? I think you ought to look in the mirror, find out who is stupid. You are a one-time loser that I know of. You tried that with people of color. Your target was your own comrade over here, city council, Nelson Esparza. What happened? Behind the scenes, I talked to the judge. I told him about what you did.
Please direct your comments to me, Mr. Elizondo. Thank you.
It's open. It's open. Delusional dictator. That's what Jerry Dyer is. He's got you guys on the back pocket. He gave you a raise of 72%. That's why he's in deficit. Jerry Dyer doesn't even know how to count. He doesn't know how to count his blessings when he had them. There's more than one way to skin a cat. You got to catch him first. This one's for you. You're too focused on the queer district where I live. I'm not queer though, but I have to deal with those people. You say their pride, you call them queer and they say, oh, he's a hater. They're the ones that hate men. What are you talking about? This is for Jerry Dyer. When you pledge allegiance to the fag or to the flag, you don't know the difference.
Council President.
Yeah, please
My 2
do
minutes
not say
ain't
that
up
word
yet.
again. Thank you. All right, City Clerk, is there anyone online who would like to provide public comment? This is unscheduled communication.
Yes, we have Jalen Swank.
Good morning, Jalen. You have 3 minutes. This is unscheduled communication.
Jalen, are you there?
Go ahead, Jalen.
Next, we have Lisa Flores.
Good morning, Lisa. You have 3 minutes for unscheduled communication.
Good morning, President Perea. This is what happens when you allow one bigot to say rude remarks against the speaking public. You get another bigot out there saying rude remarks about other people. First off, my focus of comments are on yesterday's meeting. First off, I thought I had an opportunity at the end to speak to all the amendments that you guys made, because I definitely had some comments. First off, the retirement. Shame on you all you elected Democrats, and you too, Gary. In the conversation about the retirement, the one thing I did not hear was what was the report from the PERS actuaries. Now, if the PERS actuaries come back and say that you've overfunded and it would be a good idea to lessen your contribution, then I would be all for it. But you don't have it. Furthermore, you did no analysis of projecting out healthcare 10, 20, 30 years on the line. The council, by its own admission, talked about how the fire department, they are exposed to plastics. There's going to be a higher rate of incidences of cancer and stuff. The least the city can give these people is a well-funded healthcare system. So if they actually end up with cancer, that they're treated fair and well. The other comment I also had was Mr. Maxwell Tyler, $75,000 for landscaping for Marjorie Mason Center. Everybody knows out here on the street, Marjorie Mason has millions just sitting around. They can buy their own trees and landscape and shrubs. $75,000, you know what that could be used for? Emergency hotel rooms for children out on the street in 105-degree weather. Think about that. Your priorities are really screwed up. Or is that $75,000 just a photo op for whatever election you want to go into? Gary, I don't have anything for you today. You're lucky. Nelson Esparza, the roundabouts. What the hell? Almost $1 million in studying roundabouts on Wishawn. Are you kidding me? Do you know that each of the points, both at Portland and Fountain Way, you would be taking out at least 4 to 8 properties? You're talking multi-million. And if Scott Mosier has anything to do about designing it, they will be smaller than they should be. They will be, I question your VMTs to even put money down to study this at this point in time. And also, what are you even working with the county? Now, Ms. Perea, I leave my favorite person that I dislike the most on city council next to Gary for the very last.
Next, we have Matthew Gillian.
Good morning, Matthew. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you. Can you hear me? I will take that as a yes.
Yes, we can
thank
hear
you. Okay, thank you so much for the time. I'd like to start so many things today, but I'd like to start by commending the whole council on whether you guys came to all of the right answers, but just a good job in tackling this budget, which is a large task, and you're doing. I generally would like to believe that you're doing the best that you can with the time that you're allotted. So good job at that. I'd also like specifically to commend my specific Councilmember Carbasi, for at least coming up with a good and creative way to tackle, not depleting our public safety units. It might not be the right answer for everybody, but it is starting the conversation of, again, coming up with creative ways to take on that issue financially and not, again, deplete any resources from our public safety. With all of this being said, I hope that some of you are paying attention to other things that are going on in the world, and that we are at a point now where we could see that things like a young girl, and forgive me, I can't remember her name right now, was in a situation placed upon her by the Israeli occupation where she starved to death. Her body ate herself to death. And our tax dollars going towards funding troops and resources to invade a refugee camp through Trojan horse tactics. I would say that there are people everywhere of all different faiths, religions, creeds, and whatnot that can see that's inhumane. And I would really hope that a council that had the intellectual ability and capacity to tackle a substantial task like our city budget could find it within themselves to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Thank you.
Next, we have Keisha Thomas.
Good morning, Keisha. You have 3 minutes.
Keisha, please unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Board President, and thank you for all the hard work that you all have been doing. I concur on the budget, which is a hard thing for everyone every year. I am here to speak in favor of supporting the African American Museum. I'm really taken aback as to how the monies were pulled not once, but twice, and they've been promised to the African American Museum. We have to figure out a way to support our people and support each other when we're talking about the city and how it's ran and how we initially figure out a way to support people who are giving back. They have a dynamic board now. I couldn't say that I would have been in favor of it a few years ago, but I am in favor of supporting them with everything we have. So with that, I rest. Thank you, Board President.
Next, we have Jalen Swank.
Good morning, Jalen. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I am Jalen Swank. I'm a former One Fresno Youth Job Corps program participant and a current case administrator with the Fresno County Department of Public Health. And I urge the council to move to return file ID 24-703 pertaining to the African American Museum. Equity divides resources fairly and equally while taking into consideration the needs of specific groups to ensure the equal opportunity of success. Justice is long-term equity in that it corrects systemic issues by giving added support to ensure sustainable, equitable access for generations to come. By definition, we are seeking justice in this matter to expand access to African American arts and culture, and justice delayed is justice denied. I understand that often the intent is positive. However, the impact and how actions are perceived from renaming to delaying consideration of funds to this culturally historic site can sometimes have an adverse effect. Community members have expressed feeling their history is systemically being erased, and if we don't call it to your attention, this could become our reality. When former Sergeant Jack Kelly founded the museum 37 years ago, I don't know that he could have predicted it be the only preservation of African American culture of its kind in the Central Valley for a time, but I'm sure he understood the power of a museum to increase our sense of well-being, provoke pride in our origins and contributions, to inspire, challenge, stimulate us, and make us feel healthier. I'm sure he understood the museum's role as a socially purposeful organization working with the community to deliver positive social impact, especially at a time like today when young Black men are 5 times as likely to be incarcerated in Fresno County than their white counterparts, and our Black and brown 6th graders aren't up to par in their studies. There is so much work to be done, and we have a generation of young, willing workers, including myself, who are ready to serve the community through collaboration with and following the revitalization of the African American Museum, but we need to be able to invite the community to a safe environment inside and out. We need a boost to launch these valuable programs in-house to encourage continuing public investment so that the museum can become self-sufficient. One Fresno, an inclusive, prosperous, beautiful city where people take pride in their neighborhoods and community, a government that listens, keeps its promises, and is owned by the people. We can't change the past, but we can use it as a guide to mold our future. You owe us nothing, but you owe it to yourself to continue to actualize the One Fresno vision. Now it's time to decide. Prefix D, meaning off, and suffix side, meaning an act of killing. My question to you, what are you going to kill off today? I hope it's not the opportunity to uplift and amplify the voices of generations of African American City of Fresno residents. Thank you.
There are no more speakers online.
Thank you. That will conclude today's open session portion of the meeting, so we will now move to closed session. We have already taken public comment on closed session items. City Attorney, will you please read the closed session roster?
Yes, thank you, Council President. In closed session today, we have item A, conference with labor negotiators, all represented units listed on the agenda. Item B, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Joshua Benjamin versus City of Fresno. Item C, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, one potential case. We will not have any reportable items after closed session.